Episode 38, and this week we're looking at strategies for the SundaeSwap Decks launch. Hey, and welcome to the Learn Cardano podcast, the podcast where we break down all the ins and outs of Cardano so that you can enjoy that sweet, sweet ice cream sundae this week. Yep, the SundaeSwap Decks is launching, and we'll be going through different strategies that you could possibly take on launch so that you can maximize your rewards, whatever you might be wanting to do. You might be wanting to take a very passive approach to a very active approach on the deck. So we'll be looking at all different things that you can do and all of the risks involved around it as well. So it's important to note, like, you can lose all of your crypto assets playing around with this stuff. So it's really important to know the risks that are involved as well. All right, so before we get into that, let's get into the news for this week. First off, for this week, I'd probably just like to apologize for the delays on this audio podcast. I have been trying to put it out. I've been writing more pillar articles that are really key for the Cardano ecosystem, but they just take so much more time. And with the amount of events and things that are happening in the ecosystem at the moment, everything from NFT launches to the launch of the SundaeSwap Decks, it's so much to cover. And I'm literally releasing one YouTube video a day at the moment because there's so much happening. I was on a week schedule before, and now I'm releasing one video a day. If you haven't seen any of my YouTube videos, check them out. It's a lot of content on there now. Everything from how-to videos all the way to up-to-date news and specific interviews around the ecosystem itself. So please check that out if you haven't. You can learn a lot from that as well. All right, the first news story for this week, if you haven't heard, which I'll be really surprised if you haven't, is the SundaeSwap Decks is launching this Thursday, January 20th. It's launching on mainnet as at that epoch changeover. So I think it's 9:45 p.m. UTC on that 20th. You'll see the Decks launch. At that point in time, you'll be able to buy and sell, trade, whatever is on the Decks at the moment. There'll be various trading pairs on there. People will be providing liquidity at that point in time as well. So you'll be able to actually get in on that and play around with the Decks. So check out the show notes to find out a little bit more about the SundaeSwap Decks launch. Also check out the YouTube channel, hence I mentioned it a little bit earlier. My next news item is around MinSwap. Don't forget about the other DEXs. SundaeSwap definitely has some very strong marketing, and some of the approaches that they took definitely shone a light on them and put a lot of attention on them indeed. But MinSwap are doing some really phenomenal things. They're launching their DEX on testnet on the 25th of January. Very, very busy first quarter of the year for Cardano. They have already announced that they're auditing with Twig, a auditing company that will go through their code and make sure that they're up to speed, up to spec in terms of security. So that's already under progress. So they're on their final stretch to get their DEX launch, which is really cool. So we're almost there, testing on testnet, and we'll see more of that really soon. Now, they do have a new incentive mechanism for the testnet of this as well. So they will be launching more details around that, and follow the show notes if you want to actually participate in this testing of the MinSwap Decks so they can gather as much feedback as possible and you get rewarded for it. That's really cool. I do like that model. It means that you'll be testing more and more. You try and get as many issues as possible, bombarding the team, really putting the DEX to its test, and find out exactly how it can handle and how well it can scale. Now, they have put out some more details about their testing and their technical features as well, and I'm really impressed with this. These stats are better than anything else I've seen in the Cardano ecosystem, as well as in the Ethereum space as well. So they're claiming that they can do 144 swaps or transactions per minute, which results to 2.4 swaps per second. And that's absolutely phenomenal. That's really, really good. I believe Uniswap version 2 or version 3, I think it was, only does 70 transactions per minute. So it's almost double the speed, which is really, really cool. So we're seeing DeFi on Cardano outperforming DeFi on the Ethereum blockchain. So we'll have to wait to see it actually launch and on mainnet and see real life scenarios. But the more and more of this testing and optimization that is being done right now on testnet, we'll see how it will perform on mainnet. So I'm really, really excited about that as well. If you read over their Medium post about this as well, they have more detailed information about how their laminar, I think that's how you pronounce it, their batching solution to address concurrency, how that all works, and how it's also DDoS resistance or denial of service resistant. So it incorporates a lot of really cool things and aspects around that. So overall, I'm pretty excited for MinSwap. They're progressing very, very well. It's all these other DEXs are really in the shadows at the moment because of SundaeSwap and the amount of marketing that they've done. But these other DEXs, please don't forget them. They do have a phenomenal fan base as well as a lot of liquidity that will be available there as well. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on and ensure that you don't miss out on it. My next news item is around World Mobile. They have finally fulfilled the reservation of 1,000 Earth nodes. So these all are a part of the World Mobile network, and people have reserved them now so they can actually be operators of the network. So that's really cool. I absolutely love that aspect of World Mobile, allowing people to participate within their ecosystem. They've also been featured in various news items about their tethered balloons, which are part of their communication network to provide internet coverage for the people that are unconnected, connecting those unconnected people. So part of that Cardano mission to bank the unbanked. So that's really cool. They're making really good progress there. You can see that they're actually doing this in Tanzania at the moment and Pemba. The article that I reference in the show notes, you can read more about their achievements and what they're doing in those particular regions. So congratulations to the World Mobile team for meeting that goal of the reservations of the Earth nodes and their progress within the telecommunication space within Zanzibar and Pemba. It's also really important to note that they also have centralized exchange listings as well. I'll put the links down in the show notes so you can find out where you can actually buy World Mobile tokens. The Adana team were pushing ahead with a lot of centralized exchanges to get their Dana token launched, and they're based in the UK, and so is World Mobile. So those partnerships there have made it possible for other companies, other projects to launch their token on centralized exchanges. So it's really cool to see that they've done this as well. And I'm hoping more and more really big Cardano related projects actually follow suit and have centralized exchange listings. They're actually a key part of the ecosystem to allow onboarding of users into cryptocurrencies. So these centralized exchanges are essential for the ecosystem. Now, to round off this news section for this week, I'd just like to read out a podcast review that came in. This one's actually from Austria. It's titled, "So Much Ground Covered. I need podcasts because the time I have, I cannot watch videos. Once I start to love Cardano, I was looking for a good podcast and I couldn't be happier with Pete." That's me. He covers pretty much every topic as well as latest news. Old episodes don't lose value because most of the content is not focused on short-term key actions. Keep it up, Pete. Greetings from a slice. I don't understand what that last bit means, but thank you for the lovely podcast review and that 5-star rating. If you're enjoying this podcast series, please consider leaving that 5-star rating or review. It really helps with the discoverability of the podcast and helps other people find it. Or you can just share it out on every single social media channel that you can find. That really helps too. You'll be surprised. All right. That's it for the news items. Let's get into the main topic for this week, and it's all around strategies for SundaeSwap. All right, so there are many things that you can do on the launch of this SundaeSwap Decks, and it's probably really important to note first that none of this is financial advice. This is all purely for educational purposes. Please listen to the theme tune at the end. It is my financial disclaimer after all. Now, There are a lot of things that you can do when this DEX launches, from swapping and whatnot. But these are some of the strategies that you can follow to maximize your return on your ADA or return on your SundaeSwap tokens, depending on what you want to do. Now, first off, I should point out the obvious. You can do nothing. If this is too complicated, if you don't understand a lot of the concepts behind this, if you don't have the time to watch, monitor, and jump on the DEX and do all of these things, practice on testnet, you may consider to do nothing at all. If you're staking your ADA already, you know that you can earn those ADA rewards from staking it on a stake pool. And if you're happy with that, if you're comfortable with that, that is an option. Please keep that in mind. If you're going through this podcast episode and you get to the end of it and you're more confused than you were at the beginning, just leave your ADA staked at whatever pool you're staked at. Maybe it's ADA Oz, maybe it's our pool, but it's probably the safest bet for you. Now, the next step that you can do during this very first period of the DEX launch for the 25 days, 5 epochs, that is, every 5 days is 1 epoch, you can simply delegate to one of the initial stake pool offering pools. So this is that whole voting process that we all had to go through back in November. It put me through hell to go through that campaign, but hey, we're here now. We didn't make it to the top 30 pool operators list. We were in the runners up, the waiting list. They apparently have something for us, but I don't know what that is. So we'll just wait and see what happens. But you can simply delegate to one of the, I think it's 84 different stake pools now that have opened up from those 30 operators. You can delegate to any of those pools and you will earn your SundaeSwap tokens from it. The rewards that you get are calculated based on how much ADA you put in. And at the moment, based on how much ADA is delegated to all of these pools, these 83, 84 pools, it is roughly 0.027 SundaeSwap tokens per ADA that you delegate to these pools. Now, there is a logarithmic curve to this as well. So if you're a large whale with millions of ADA delegated to these pools and you're expecting millions of SundaeSwap tokens, that won't work because that logarithmic curve will diminish your returns on your SundaeSwap tokens. Now, this is put in place to protect any of the participants within the ecosystem from whales for gobbling up all of these SundaeSwap tokens. So a lot of the small players can actually participate. Otherwise, the whales would just come in, take everything and sell, and hey presto, we're left with absolutely nothing in the end. So it's a really good mechanism that was put in place. A lot of the other DEXs have said they've put this in place as well. So we'll be seeing more and more of this as other decentralized exchanges launch. Now, the next thing that you can do when the DEX launches is actually provide liquidity to the liquidity pools on the DEX itself. So in providing liquidity in various trading pairs, let's say you're providing ADA and SundaeSwap tokens in equal values, you will be able to collect the fees from that liquidity pool. You see, DEXs work off a AMM model. So the decentralized exchange works off an automated market maker, and that relies on liquidity pools. These liquidity pools are provided by users such as yourself, and the incentive model behind that is that you collect a portion of the fees from various people that are swapping on the DEX. So if person A comes to the DEX and decides to do a swap between ADA and Sundae, they will have to pay a DEX fee of some sort, whatever it might be. The numbers vary depending on what you're trading. Now, a portion of that fee goes to the liquidity providers. So that pool will get that fee. And then based on how much liquidity you provide to that pool, you'll get a portion of that reward. So that's pretty cool. So it's a really nice incentive. So if you aren't doing anything with your ADA or SundaeSwap tokens, you can at least lock it into a liquidity pool and earn the rewards off the swaps that happen within that liquidity pool. So it's a really cool incentive so that you can earn that little bit of extra assets through providing liquidity there. Now, SundaeSwap is also offering yield farming to earn extra Sundae tokens. So they have a very specific trading pairs and liquidity pools that they're setting up. So they want to attract these particular trading pairs. It's Sundae tokens and ADA, Liquid Finance, the LQ token and ADA, World Mobile token and ADA, and also cards and ADA as well. So those 4 different trading pairs, they're looking for as much liquidity as possible on them. And for providing the liquidity to those qualified pools, you will earn not only the liquidity pool fees, but also extra Sundae tokens that they'll be allocating. Now, the team has specified that they're allocating an extra 500,000 Sundae tokens over a 5 to 6 month period, so up to until June of 2022. And anyone that is providing liquidity to those particular pools will be able to earn those extra Sundae rewards, so that extra little bit of yield farming. So it's a really cool way to earn that extra amount if Sundae tokens is what you're after. Now, from here, this is where things get much more complicated. So everything I've spoken about already, so do nothing, providing stake to a particular SundaeSwap pool, and then providing liquidity to the DEX itself, and then to the qualified liquidity pools. They're the easy things. That's set and forget. You can just click and away you go. But there is a caveat with providing liquidity, and this is impermanent loss. Impermanent loss is the risk that liquidity providers take in exchange for the fees they earn in liquidity pools. If the impermanent loss exceeds the fees earned by a user when they withdraw, it means that they have suffered a negative return compared to simply holding onto their tokens outside of a pool. So if you're not providing liquidity and just holding those 2 tokens, Sundae tokens and the ADA tokens, then they could be worth more than what you would have earned in the liquidity pool itself. So that's that loss that you incur. Now, the impermanent loss is only temporary until you actually withdraw it out. So in an extra 3 months' time, the trading pairs may regain their value and actually be worth more than if you were just holding onto the tokens, and the fees are actually better than what you would have earned by simply holding those tokens. So that's the major risk that you need to take into account. You could lose all your investment if the 2 tokens that you're holding, one of them could completely tank and the other could increase dramatically. So you may lose out there. But if you're trading and providing liquidity for 2 potential tokens that will both rise in value at the same rate, you might be a lot better off because they'll rise at the same rate and you'll be earning the fees off the swaps on there as well. So now that you understand permanent loss and how yield farming works and how you can earn extra fees from providing liquidity to a liquidity pool, you can now potentially compound your rewards from that. So there are other DEXs in other ecosystems that allow this compounding. I actually did a write-up and a overview video on Genius Yield that has this automated yield aggregator, which will allow you to compound back your rewards automatically. But because SundaeSwap doesn't have this, you could potentially do it manually. So the SundaeSwap liquidity contracts last for 30 days. At the end of that 30 days, you can withdraw your tokens that you have provided to that particular liquidity pool and take out your rewards at that point in time as well. So if you're yield farming for extra Sundae tokens, you can take them out at that point and provide it back into a liquidity pool along with the extra rewards that you had to be able to compound your rewards further. So if you just left that liquidity contract there open and let it auto renew, your ADA and your Sundae token balance may remain the same. But if you take your rewards out, add them in, you'll be able to compound that on a 30-day basis and potentially earn more rewards from that process. So it's a manual process that they have to do at the end of every contract, and you have to make sure that you withdraw it after your contract period. If you withdraw it before, you actually negate all of your rewards. So make sure you're withdrawing it at the right point in time and then adding that back into your balance to earn the extra rewards from compounding your rewards itself. All right. Hopefully you got that one. That's a really cool one. I absolutely love it. And it may be a technique that I'll be deploying myself to earn as much as possible. Maybe I shouldn't have told you. Yeah, now you all will be doing it, wouldn't you? Okay, doesn't matter. The final opportunity that you can take into account is arbitrage opportunities. So this comes into play when you see a price of a particular token on the SundaeSwap Decks being completely different to the price that you see on a centralized exchange, for example. So you're watching the price on a centralized exchange or even another decentralized exchange such as MinSwap, and you can see the price difference there really, really good, that you could potentially buy it from MinSwap, for example, and then sell it back on SundaeSwap or vice versa. And you can keep doing that. You can do multiple trades a day. Eventually you might be selling and trading tens of thousands of 8 a day for Sundae tokens and milk tokens, whatever it might be. And hey presto, you've made a really good living being a day trader, arbitraging between different exchanges. That is what people do. They trade between these decentralized exchanges large amounts of crypto assets and earn the profits off their trades that way. You have to be quick though. Other people are watching these opportunities as well and the differences in price, and they'll be doing the same thing. And if they get in before you, you get left holding a large crypto asset that you can't get rid of because you've bought it too high or maybe too low. So it's another risk that you have to take into account. The market is very volatile, it moves very fast, and on DEXs that have low liquidity, you can run into those issues. But like I said, there's a lot of opportunities to be made. Okay, so I've gone through a whole bunch of different techniques and different things that you can do on the DEX itself. And don't forget, you can simply just swap, buy, sell, trade, and ride the ups and downs of the volatile market as you would on a centralized exchange, looking for those peaks and troughs and looking for the whole buy high, buy low and sell high techniques on the decentralized exchange itself. So I am looking so forward to SundaeSwap launching. It's going to be a lot of fun playing around with the exchange and looking for these opportunities and seeing what we can actually do on the exchange to maximize our return on rewards. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting to see this all come into play. Now, we also need to take into account the issues and expectations of the launch of the SundaeSwap Decks. Now, because the testnet saw over 500,000 transactions on the DEX itself just during testnet, we're expecting to see even more of that when the DEX actually launches on mainnet. And from what I can see on all of the comments and the amount of views and hits that I'm getting on YouTube at the moment, there are a huge amount of people that are coming into the ecosystem right now. They're coming from centralized exchanges, they're coming from Ethereum, they're coming from all over the place, ready for SundaeSwap to take advantage of these potential gains at the very launch of the DEX. Now, SundaeSwap have put out a blog post that talks about what may happen on launch, and there are potential congestion issues, but the way that they work is they will pick up all of those transactions that are submitted and come through and process them eventually. So it'll just go into a queue, and the scoopers, the batchers that are on the network will pick them up one by one and just process them as they come through. So it's important to keep that in mind. There will be a lot of congestion, there will be a lot of opportunities potentially missed because of that congestion as well. You'll see the price go up and down, and you'll be waiting for your transaction to be fulfilled. So it's important to keep that in mind. That will happen with the amount of interest, the amount of eyes, the amount of people, the amount of ADA that is delegated to all these pools. So it may be a fact that we just delegate our ADA and grab our SundaeSwap tokens from the delegation to those pools, wait a few days before the network starts to settle down, and then jump in. Or you might want to jump in straight away. I don't know. It's totally up to you. But the congestion is something that we really have to be mindful of. And from that, we will see a lot of FUD. We're going to see a lot of other tweets and blog posts saying that Cardano can't handle the scaling. But guess what? Keep in mind, other chains that have launched DEXs or done these really big IDOs have failed and had to shut down their blockchain because it wasn't working and do a reboot. So I know that won't happen on the Cardano blockchain just because of the way it's architected and built. It will just slow down in regards to processing the transactions as opposed to shutting down and completely falling over. Now, there are other risks involved in participating in the DEX, and it's something you need to keep in mind. I mentioned it a little bit earlier around security as well. So please make sure you have taken every single security precaution that you can. If you are using a hardware wallet, please make sure all your assets are on there. The wallets that you can use to interact with the DEX, CC Vault and Nami Wallet, both are hardware wallet compatible. So make sure you set up your wallets before the DEX is launched, so that way you can maximize your time and experience on the DEX and do what you need to do as quickly as possible. Now, in terms of the price fluctuations and what the price might be, no one really knows what will happen. We know that the initial price will eventually be calculated as liquidity is put in and people start buying and selling and trading on the DEX itself, and that will stabilize and determine a price for the token, for the SundaeSwap token. Now, as more and more people come into the DEX, this price, everyone will be buying up SundaeSwap tokens, so I'm expecting it to increase in value very quickly, but large holders may be dumping on those buyers to take the profits as quickly as possible. If you look at any token launch, any centralized exchange launch, you find that these tokens are pumped at the very beginning and then take a massive dive down afterwards. So it's really important to keep that in mind. If you're seeing the price increase dramatically and you suddenly have that emotional feel in there and you want to be buying into it, please keep a clear mind, keep your emotions calm, and just go in with your strategy and follow it to the T. So that's it for the strategies around the SundaeSwap Decks launch, or any Decks launch. It is pretty much the same. So keep this in mind. This is really good learning for the Cardano ecosystem in 2022. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, if you like this content, please leave a comment down below. If you're listening to audio podcast, leave a comment on the show notes at cardano.com.au/EP038. If you're listening to it on YouTube, comment down below there and let me know what you think of these strategies, or maybe comment on what your strategy is. I'd love to hear what other people are doing, what they're trying to achieve. It's going to be quite an interesting first quarter of this year as these DEXs all start to launch. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So that's it for me for this podcast episode. If you really enjoyed it, please consider leaving that 5-star rating or review, or if you're on YouTube, give me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click the notification bell, and you hear more really great Cardano content from me. So let's leave it at that, and I'll catch you next time. But meanwhile, please keep those seed phrases safe and secure, and make sure you keep them backed up. Okay, bye.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating. IOHK, Emergo, we're not affiliated, not Cardano Foundation. We just gotta say it. A show that you can learn and it's for your entertainment. Yeah, you gotta check it. Don't wanna be missing that. You were tuned in to the Learn Cardano podcast. Yeah, giving insight. Ain't another show like this when it come to crypto. Invest at your own risk. Might not be for everyone, but who it is for, we keep giving you some info and plenty more. Hey, yeah, the Learn Cardano podcast. Hey, yeah, the the Learn Cardano podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Keep it locked right here. Let's go.